Hello and welcome to episode 59 of the Virtual Velo Podcast with me, Emma Martin, and my co-host, Chris Schwenker. Well, Chris, we have today joining us Eric Hill, the founder and president of Project Echelon and Echelon Race Promotions.
Yeah, actually, I was able to first meet Eric, I think it was a number of years ago. I think it was back in 2022, because I really admired the work that he was doing on the RGT platform for adaptive athlete inclusion and representation. And he had a hand bike instituted to the game there. And we interviews, and it actually ended up being the first article that I had published in a major publication. It was published by Cycling News. And since then, we've gotten to know each other pretty well. And I've always seen Eric as a visionary in the space. Not only is his real world team, tremendously successful, but he also has been successful in making that transition from the virtual world to the real world. Back in 2020, the winners of the virtual Joe Martin stage race, GC, sprint, and KOM competitions wore their respective jerseys to the line of the real world race the next year, which, that was the first time that's ever happened. And it's never happened since then. Mm-hmm. So he obviously sees the value of cycling esports and virtual cycling and did early on. And we're proud to announce that he's moving that needle further again this year.
Well, you just set a really high bar for me, and I'm going to have to up my ante, up my game in this podcast. But that was a wonderful introduction. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, Eric, it's fabulous to have you here. And do you know what? I saw those handbikes in real life at the Paracycling Road World Championships earlier on this year in Zurich. That is an absolute sight to see. And the racing is absolutely phenomenal. And if anybody gets the opportunity to go and watch paracycling on the road or on the track, if you like tandems, for example, but those handbikes, the pace, the speed, the draft, it is phenomenal. I cannot
and the bumping. Don't forget that. They literally have bumper bars on their bikes so that they can move each other around. It's pretty incredible.
Oh, yeah, it is absolutely phenomenal. It's absolutely superb. Eric, it's fabulous to have you here. Echelon Racing Promotions and USA Cycling partnered for the US National Cycling Esports Championships on RGT in 2020 and 23, Zwift in 24. You're here to make an announcement for this upcoming cycling esports season as part and parcel of the podcast. So I'm going to say welcome back to the Virtual Velo Podcast because it's fabulous to have you here.
Yeah, no, thank you. And like Chris said, we had a wonderful relationship. We've told some pretty powerful stories over the years, and I'm looking forward to continuing on that.
Well, Eric, just for some of our listeners who might be new to you and your story, before we talk about the news you've come on to share, could you take a moment to tell the audience maybe about the history, the mission of Project Echelon?
Yeah, sure. So Project Echelon was founded in 2016 after a veteran friend of mine and I decided to come together and really take our two passions and what we viewed our missions in life and bring them together as one. So I had been racing bikes as an elite rider and racing the professional circuit for a number of years. Being a professional athlete is self-serving. It's all about how do I make myself bigger, faster, stronger, better. I am somebody that just values the opportunity and the ability to give back to my community. And kind of as I was going through that journey, a veteran friend of mine had made an attempt at suicide, his third attempt, and was struggling with drug and alcohol addiction. Reached out for help. He wanted to get physically active, take control of his life again, and ultimately do an Ironman. I was privileged enough to be able to work with my team partners and sponsors to help get him a bike, to help get him some running shoes, a race entry, and then I put together a training plan for him, and it changed his life. And so together we decided if we put a team together, Project Echelon Racing, we could help more people. And today we work with 500 to 600 veteran families a year. Our mission is to educate, equip, and empower veterans through physical activity, removing barriers to access for them, whether that be event entries, scholarships, equipment grants, or donations, coaching and training advice, or community building. Have the ability to travel the world as a professional cycling team, the opportunity to share that mission, whether it be on international television and having people like Josie Bean or whatever talk about the mission and the organization, or it be in a small community racing a local criterium. Being able to share that, talk positively about our veterans and talk about how and why we should support them. And then in turn, being able to work with our sponsors and our partners to be able to give back to them is really powerful. And I think it's something unique in professional sport, and something that I would love to see more of is using our platform for good, because it's an incredible opportunity.
And a really impactful story as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to note also that Echelon Racing Promotions donates 22% of its proceeds to Project Echelon charity in honor of the 22 veterans who take their own lives each day. And it's certainly impactful what you do, Eric. It's also impactful to us as promoters of cycling esports and virtual cycling that you've embraced cycling esports as a unique discipline early on. And you played a role in delivering multiple USA Cycling Esports National Championships. What inspired that vision, and how did that evolve into a partnership with USA Cycling?
Yeah, so really it's thanks to the pandemic. We provide services to people who need it and deserve it, right? And the pandemic came around, races got shut down. I was afraid that sponsors were going to pull out. We weren't able to serve our purpose to them, which was visibility, marketing, and X, Y, and Z deliverables. And we had to find a way to make an impact and leave our mark and bring them value. And so I turned to esports to do that. I wanted to give my riders a purpose as well, keep them engaged, keep them competitive, keep them connected with one another. And so it started out by actually hosting meetups on Zwift. And I was keeping those links private to myself and sharing them out with folks who filled out a Google form showing interest in competing against their peers. And we did that with great success. They were filling up within minutes. So then I invited Brad Soner to come in and start recording the screen and commentating on it. It was very archaic. It was literally a Zoom screen recording. And then we'd post the highlights literally 24 hours later. I was keeping track of points in a spreadsheet based on Strava segments. It was, again, archaic and wild, but it caught people's attention and they wanted more. So that was in March of 2020. As soon as the pandemic hit, I made that shift. By the end of 2020, we were actual events on the Zwift platform. We were doing a little bit more with the production and the broadcast of that in partnership with Community Live and Nathan Guerra over there. And it grew, it scaled up, and it was becoming successful. And then there were some barriers that got in the way, which ultimately led to us changing platforms, learning to navigate the space, forming some new relationships. And that is the cycle that we've been on since, is navigating this rapidly growing space where there isn't a huge amount of infrastructure and governance, and trying to make it our own and accessible for everybody, from the esports specialist to the road professional to the rider with disability. And it's led us to where we are today.
Well, you're gearing up for another year, Eric. What can you share about what you have planned for the 2024-25 season?
Yeah, so after being on RGT for several years and that platform sunsetting, we moved back to Zwift last year, had another successful season. But due to some accessibility issues and to grow as really a business, as an entity, as Echelon Racing Promotions, we've switched over to working with MyWhoosh. And we're really excited about that because of their shared vision for innovation in the sport. We're working with national governing bodies and really professionalizing what esports has to offer. And so they're walking stride for stride with us in that journey. They're empowering us to grow as a business and see us as an asset. And we're thankful for that opportunity and really what's ahead of us. I mean, the Esports World Championships that just happened a week ago was incredible to watch. It absolutely showcased their vision for innovation and doing things differently. And I think that's why this is going to be a successful partnership.
So what's the schedule? What's the format? What can everybody look forward to?
Yeah, so we are kind of actually stepping away from some of the things that MyWhoosh has done with Sunday Race League and the format of World Championships. We're going straight scratch racing. And so it's December through February. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, we have always been an entity that draws in a large number of competitive road cyclists. And they want to compete in a format that, one, that they're familiar with. 2, that requires the same type of depth and fitness that's going to prepare them for their season. And then 3, we are changing platforms again, right? So we're bringing our community from Zwift over to MyWhoosh. A new platform means new dynamics, and changing too many things at once is never a recipe for success. So I see us changing that in the future, having some things like points races and that down the road. But for now, we are going to have a season of scratch races. And again, it's going to be an omnium format. There are 6 races over the course of the season, with the Echelon Racing League Championship being at the back end of that. We're only admitting the top 50 from the Echelon Racing League series into the championship race. There's a $10,000 prize list on the line split between men and women. And then the week after our RL Championship is USA Cycling National Championships. And a week after that is Canadian National Championship. So we are also working with Cycling Canada, and you're the first people to hear that.
Wow, that is going to be a busy few months. Now, tell us a little bit more. You mentioned there the prize purse. Is there any cost to entry?
There is, yeah. So it's a $15 one-time fee to compete in the series. The series itself is not a qualifier, but it is a standard that everybody needs to meet. They need to compete in and complete one Echelon Racing League event and meeting all of our verification and governance requirements before they will be permitted to race in their national championship event. Or if they want to race in the Echelon Racing League Championship, then they need to compete in the entirety of the series and be in that top 50 ranking in order to qualify for that. So there is a fee, and that fee really goes to us being able to do due diligence on things like governance and communication and really run a professional operation, right? I think everybody that is listening to this podcast surely is looking for esports to become more professional in nature. $15, we think that's still pretty accessible, and we can bring you a level up in service that you might experience otherwise.
And can anybody join?
Yeah, anybody can join. We have an elite field. We have categories B and C. We have a para category as well. Our goal is to work with MyWhoosh over time to be able to bring accessibility and adaptive avatars to their platform. Anybody can join and race in those respective categories. When we get to our national championships, we'll kind of break those out, and we'll have everything from junior categories all the way through masters as well. For the series itself, it doesn't matter what nationality you are too. We are open for everybody around the world to be able to join us. We're really proud of being an international race promoter that way. We've had really great international representation over the years. Obviously, national championships are restricted to the nation in which you live. The other piece that I think sets us apart is the fact that we do have standards for governance and verification for every category, C, B, and elite. And so everybody will be going through a verification process. Everybody will have to submit weigh-in information, trying to bring the same level of fairness to all of our categories and the same level of professionalism to all of our categories as well.
So for those people who are really interested in this but may not want to compete, is there an opportunity to watch a broadcast?
Yes.
Will it be broadcast?
It will be, yeah. So you'll be able to watch it on our Facebook page. It'll be streamed to MyWhoosh Facebook, to national governing bodies. USA Cycling in Canada will carry it as well. And then we partner with an organization called ESTV. They are an esports-specific streaming channel that you can find on Samsung, Apple TV, Roku, all of the above. It's a free app, and we have an Echelon Racing League channel within that app that you can tune into.
Brilliant.
Well, it's really exciting, Eric. It's also a significant opportunity for the racers, especially the elite ones, since it's likely going to be used by USA Cycling as a World Championship qualifier. Can you give us a little more details about the actual Esports National Championship and what is on store for that, and what the athletes can look forward to as they prepare for another World Championship?
Yeah. So in order to compete in the national championships, again, you'll have to have participated in and successfully completed at least one Echelon Racing League event. You'll have to be a license holder for USA Cycling or Cycling Canada in order to be able to compete in your respective nation's national championship as well. And those nations have, since we started Esports World Championships, have long been wanting to ensure that the platforms align and that they can make informed decisions about selections based on resumes, based on consistent performances on a similar platform. Again, racing on Zwift, racing on MyWhoosh, racing on Training Peaks Virtual. They are different. It's no different than racing on American roads and European roads and Asian roads, right? And so somebody that's successful racing a Criterium in the US is not going to necessarily be successful racing a Kermesse in Belgium. And the same is true about these platforms. And so having kind of those aligned platforms is going to be something taken into consideration by those federations in their selection process. I can't say too much more about what that selection process is because that's not publication.
So last year, when I asked you why you brought the Echelon Racing League back to Zwift from RGT, you mentioned in simple terms, that's where our community is, so that's why we're going to go back there. Now, I've been asking this question a lot lately. I asked it of the UCI and of SuperTry. You alluded to it, but what is the reason why you made that switch to MyWhoosh?
Imagine your community being in an establishment and you going to join them and not being welcome in. That is what we were running into with Zwift. People are happy and excited about the product that we provide. They wanted it to be there. We wanted to bring it back there. Unfortunately, that vision didn't align, and their business goals and objectives didn't necessarily work with what they thought our value was and what we could provide to them. So we had to look to a partner that saw value in us, that wanted to innovate with us, that wanted to meet the requests and the demands of the people that we serve through our business. And MyWhoosh was clearly that partner. I think the fact that MyWhoosh is understanding that this is a rapidly growing space and that constant development and innovation and change is a part of that. Not saying that the community needs to conform to the product, but that the product needs to follow the direction of the community. It's a small shift in disposition, but those are the dispositions that I see talking to leaders at each organization, and that's why we've chosen to work with MyWhoosh this year.
So talking of changes, Eric, I know you caught the live event at the World Championships because you have mentioned it. What were your thoughts?
Well, for me, it was personally exciting because Zach Nair is a prior Project Echelon racing athlete. Through our work early in esports, that's how he found the discipline. Zach is somebody that was ready to hang up his wheels and completely step away from the sport. Struggled with some pretty difficult crashes and injuries before 2020 and found esports through the work that we were doing during the pandemic and hasn't looked back. I mean, he is doing incredible things in the space. So to see him on that stage was really impactful for me. Actually, our community magazine actually just did a story on Zach and his family and Project Echelon and the path that esports has taken him down and what he was just doing in Abu Dhabi with MyWhoosh, both as an employee of the company now, but also as a world-class competitor. And then Hayden Pucker is a young rider that I've been mentoring for several years now. And to see him be successful there as well. Hayden has lack of vision in one of his eyes. And so being successful on the road, it impairs what he was able to do in esports, opened up that world of competition for him. And he is an absolute horse. We call him Farm Watts is his nickname. I know a lot of people know that, but he's an absolute horse. And yeah, again, to see him pursue his dream of being this elite cyclist, through that venue is really incredible. So I was interested for that reason for sure. But then to see the pop and circumstance that was around it, really, really cool, and got me extremely excited for actually what the LA 2028 Olympic Games can potentially be here too. I think esports in that area is incredibly popular. There's multiple esports arenas already there. That's where ESTV is actually based in the United States. So I am hopeful that at least some of the work that we're doing can help to influence the LA Olympic Games and maybe even be a part of that to some degree. But at the very least, excited to see what it can evolve into in 3 years, which is a long, long time in this discipline. I'm sure a lot will change. And again, hopefully we're a small influence on where it's going.
From your mouth to the IOC's ears, Eric, it was really cool to meet Hayden and Zach in Abu Dhabi, and that was certainly a highlight. They've embraced the multi-platform model. They race on Zwift and they race on MyWhoosh. Not all of the elite athletes have embraced the change. Take, for instance, the current men's USA Cycling National champion. He hasn't raced on MyWhoosh at all, as far as I know. Now, are you going to do anything to make that switch more appealing for the athletes? Have you given that any thought? You want all the big names there, right? And maybe this is an opportunity to facilitate that and open their eyes to what is out there besides just Swift or whatever platform they find most comfortable in at the moment.
Listen, we've done it once. We've got everybody to go from Zwift to RGT back to Zwift again. We ran into the similar struggles, if you'll call them that, trying to get people to go from Mac to Microsoft or Mac to Windows back to Mac again, kind of thing. Again, I think it's the quality of the delivery of the series that is what draws people in. It's the type of visibility and recognition that we're able to provide them through a quality broadcast and social media. And the fact that because teams like Project Echelon Racing, who are publicized in the likes of Velo News and Cycling News and X, Y, and Z on a regular basis, compete in the series as well. And you can provide a standard between the elite road athlete and the elite esports athlete. There's value there. We get publications in Velo News and Cycling News because of it as well. So there's recognition brought to them that way. There's a whole host of reasons why I think those athletes will come along for this ride and give it a try. But I think we've earned their respect over the years, and I know who you're talking about. And I actually was emailing with him earlier this morning, and I think you'll see him on MyWhoosh.
Well, we'll look forward to that. And I know that one thing that all of the athletes look forward to is racing on a level playing field.
Mm-hmm.
So last year you were one of the first racing series to employ an independent verification service. You had indieVelo taking care of the performance verification for you, and a portion of the $25 registration fee from last year went towards that performance verification service. There is an independent body out there now called Athlete Analytics that's available for this very purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, are you employing an independent service this year? And if not, how are you handling performance verification?
Yeah, so we are not. We are going to work through the verification system that exists within MyWhoosh. MyWhoosh has a level up on the checks and balances and the quality of that internal verification system relative to what Zwift was able to provide through Zwift Power. Zwift Power provides the data. There's data transparency there. You can put flags in place, but the way in which that system operated required human analysis and human decisions to be made at a very ground level. It's still going to be required in the work that we do with MyWhoosh. There is still going to need to be a panel that reviews that data and makes a decision. But the data collection and the data analytics that exist within their system is more robust. So we're going to work with the system that MyWhoosh has.
Are there specific hardware or equipment specifications or requirements for the Echelon Racing League and for the national championships?
There are. They're listed on our website, echelonracingleague.com. So you can check that out there. Everybody will be required to do the MyWhoosh Power verification data test prior to the league, starting November 24th through the first race day, which is December 7th. Or if they don't race in the December 7th, they can do it later. That's fine. But everybody will be required to do that test and have that data profile. For the elites, they'll be required to have dual power recording as well. And then we don't want to be too limiting in the type of trainer that we provide. I understand there are varying levels of standard deviations that exist amongst different brands, but if it is a compatible trainer to MyWhoosh, we're going to allow it. And that's always been our stance, is we don't want to eliminate people simply because of haves and have-nots. Again, as a veteran nonprofit organization, I actually just shipped out a trainer to somebody today. I know how hard and how expensive they are to get their hands on, but thankfully for us, we partner with Wahoo as a team. We can make it more accessible to people, but not everybody has that ability. And so we don't want to eliminate people any more than we have to by the fact that this is a really data and equipment rich experience, and it requires a lot of people to be able to participate already.
So, Eric, if everyone has listened to this and think, right, okay, I really want to be involved in this Echelon Racing League, what information do you have for them, and where are you going to? Where do you point them? Where do they find out everything they need to know to jump on board?
Yeah, 100% of everything is on echelonracingleague.com. Everything from calendar to course selection, distances, start times, registration is all there. And so you should be able to find all of those details. The one thing that's not fully ready yet is the race Bible. So that will be published very soon. Getting registered is live. We're doing it through a really awesome partner called Race Roster. So really excited about that. In the past, we've worked with Bike Reg to do registration. We swapped to Race Roster this year, which is an ASICS company brand. It really allows for some really cool fan engagement and participant engagement tools as well. So we've got a host of participant benefits that are in there. Everything from discounts from partners like Wahoo and Perk Coffee and Cycle Wax and the like. Some other nifty things that I think folks will enjoy. So get registered, check it out. It's $15, and you'll more than make your money back in the benefits that we have available to our participants.
And what about the Esports Nationals and the Canadian Esports Nationals? If people have heard that and thought, "Oh, I need to get more information on that because that's a target for me next year," where do they go to find information on those?
Yep. So, like I said, you guys are the first to hear about the Canadian National Championships. So, that page has not been published on their National Federation website yet. However, if you go to Echelon Racing League and you go to event info, on that drop-down menu, there is a segment and a page dedicated to USA Cycling National Championships. I think I was looking at it earlier today. We are officially 88 days out from that. Yeah, I know, it's coming quick. That page will have everything regarding registration and other details on it, built right into the USA Cycling website.
Well, it all sounds really exciting. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast and explain it to us. But as I mentioned in the intro, there are other things besides racing, right? And the things that motivate a lot of people is making an impact on other people's lives. And I know that you have a groundbreaking initiative that you are implementing soon with Training Peaks Virtual. And I want you to tell us about that because it's really exciting. It's really profound. And I think that the community should know about it.
It's with an organization called Cybathlon out of Zurich. And Cybathlon is, the best way I can put it, it's robotics and engineering meet the Olympics. It is working with people with severe physical disabilities so that they can compete. Everything from people who have robotic arms and hands and putting together competitions for them to solve Rubik's Cubes or build a tower out of blocks that meet certain specifications as a competition, to, in our case, getting folks on FES, functional electrical stimulation bikes. These are recumbent trikes that they ride. They're, in most cases, para or quadriplegics. And then they get electrical stimulation machines put onto their legs to assist them with pedaling. And they have an electric motor that they can kind of oscillate forward and back, but they only get so much power that they can utilize from that motor in the competition. And so we've put them on Wahoo kickers. We've connected them and worked with George and his team over at Training Peaks Virtual to build a course on the Forest Velodrome there. And these athletes complete 2 laps of the Forest Velodrome. Some of them don't finish, so they get points based on the amount of distance that they rode in a certain amount of time. But ultimately, the first person to finish or the team that rode the furthest distance in the shortest period of time wins that competition. That actually completed last weekend. We had teams from all over the world, from Brazil to Italy to, I think there was a Korean team, a US team. It was incredible. And to see these athletes who undoubtedly have been told that they would never get the opportunity to compete, have the opportunity to do so because we've put technology and human really special.
That's that visionary word that I was telling you about in the intro, Emma. There are some things that are more important than cycling, and it might be a tough pill for some of us to swallow, but it certainly is the case here. Thank you so much, Eric. We really appreciate it. We are looking forward to the Echelon Racing League. I'm certainly looking forward to the USA Cycling Nationals. You've always moved the needle. And I think that we're looking forward to another great season.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for letting us tell our story, for covering the Echelon Racing League. I'm hoping we give you some powerful human stories to tell this year and just continue to draw interest and build momentum. And like you said, move the needle. That's what we're here for.
Well, Eric, it has been an absolute joy to meet you and to listen to your story, your plans, your aspirations, your vision. It has just been absolutely joyful, honestly. And thank you ever so much for joining us today. So you can subscribe to the Virtual Velo Podcast on your favourite podcast provider and indeed on YouTube as well. You can follow me, Emma Martin, on Instagram am at biking_Emma. Chris, well, you can follow him at the Zamunique. You can also head over to thezamunique.com and sign up for the bi-monthly newsletter to support independent cycling esports journalism. Well, we have more impactful guests from the world of cycling esports coming soon. Stay tuned. Until then, stay safe, enjoy your riding. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.